Ah. Hello, everybody. How's it going? Hello, hello, hello. Is it going okay? Nice. Did any of you lose power over the last few days? Because a lot of people have. Yeah. Let me get this stuff together. Okay. So, obviously, that storm caused a lot of issues for many people. It certainly did for us, since class was canceled on Wednesday. It probably made it turning in papers difficult as well. I extended the box a few days to sort of make up for that fact. But even still, there might have been, issues getting it in last night. So all the same, you can send that to me today, and that would be fine. That would be completely cool with me, especially if you've had a particular issue. And I'll obviously be extending the same courtesy to those that do it or need to use the extension for Unit 3 as well. So yeah, there's no big issue there. So I hope everybody saw my announcement of what or how I was doing that sort of thing. I'm assuming a lot of you also saw that I had put up, was it this? No, I put up earlier the assignment that is, well, it was supposed to be due on Wednesday, except we didn't have class on Wednesday, so I couldn't explain the assignment, and so I was definitely not going to put it up then. But I've put it up, and the assignment that was due Wednesday is now due on Saturday, and I'm going to talk about what that requires later on in this class. But first, just to get a little housekeeping thing out of the way, actually before I click on that, let's go over to our class module. And let me share my screen. There we go. So we scroll all the way down to week 10. We have that first link I posted earlier, but we also have the assignment that's going to be due on Saturday night. And we also have this item as well. And I'll talk about the Unit 3 organization research example, because that's going to be what class is basically going to be about today. But the online class survey thing is a survey that I made to kind of get a sense of how you were handling this class as an online class. If you happen to be using or taking advantage of that a lot. I know a lot of you are. I know that certainly all of you are right now, because there's nobody here but me, even though we have class today, which is fine, because I've said that you can do that. And if you wanted to come to class in person, you still could. That would be perfectly okay with me. But I was wondering, since I am the only one here, and that is the case actually in some of my other classes as well, I was wondering if you would prefer if the class were to be completely online or maintain that hybrid schedule up until Thanksgiving, because if there's going to be nobody here every single day in all of my classes, then it's kind of, it would probably be best if I did not come to class or did not come to campus. I think that would be more effective in terms of the use of my time and of yours as well. I'm more able to do things from home on a easier schedule. So there are a few questions here also related to online classes in general. So if you could give me a sense of how you're feeling about those, that would be awesome. So yeah, it is a really short survey. The information that you'd be giving me would help me out a lot in figuring out how to organize and do stuff, perhaps also for next semester too. That would be very swell of you. So that aside, and actually, let me bring up the chat. That aside, what we have to do today is the stuff that we had left over from, not left over from Monday, but rather the stuff that we would have had to do on Wednesday. And so they're going to be things, there's the stuff that we have to do today, I'll crunch into next week pretty easily, and I'll like take out some stuff too. You don't have to do the commonplaces reading. You can just read chapter 9 in your textbook. That'll be totally fine. I'll address that, you know, next week when we sort of get to it. But that's the only reading that you'll have to do. For today, I'd more or less like to cover, you know, what it's sort of like to begin doing a big research project on, you know, a particular topic. So in our case, for Unit 3, it's about an organization that is involved in a social or political issue. And I'd just like to run through basically how I begin doing research projects of that kind of caliber, or at least how I used to do it in school. And I wasn't always, actually, let me make this, make that available, because I'll show it in just a second. So I wasn't always, you know, really good at researching. It took a while to sort of build up that, that capacity. But there are like various strategies and things you can do to make it easier. So what I wanted to do today was show just how, you know, fast and robust you can do some preliminary research. I wanted to show you how possible it was to do like really thorough research relatively quickly at the beginning stages of your paper, because I think that's going to be a big issue, is going to be not knowing what to write about first and not knowing what to sort of, what information is valuable. And so I think if I can demonstrate that for you, you'll have an easier time with this project. So I have a document open called the Unit 3 sort of research document example for our class. Actually, it's not this class. Yeah, it's from my other class, but it'll be the same on your class as well. Let me go pull that up. Actually, it's right here. There we go. So what I want to do is start off by thinking of an organization. And so I did a couple different organizations for earlier classes, and I've done pretty much no prep heading into these, specifically because I wanted to sort of show you like my processes going through all of these things, and I'm going to sort of talk you through it. So let me actually, I'll leave that up to you. So what group should I use as my sort of example here? Just to show that I've done no like earlier research. Give me one in the chat. Is everybody alive out there? Camp Kesem, you say? Okay. All right. So Camp Kesem. I've done a little bit of research on them in the past, but I haven't done them to like a super large extent. Of course, I've looked at them a little bit, I think even in this class for a moment, but I haven't gone like in depth. I kind of know who they are and kind of what they're about, but beyond that, they're a bit of a mystery to me. So that puts them in a perfect position here. So Camp Kesem, as I know of them through their reputation and you know what they do, they are a organization that offers opportunities for children of parents who have cancer, that is the parents who have the cancer. They offer them opportunities for like summer camp, sleepaway camp activities, among other things, so that they can, get together and, process these very difficult moments, as well as, give the parents a little, alleviate some of the burdens associated with issues there. So just thinking about them for a second and what they do, what sorts of values might sort of stem from that, their interaction with that particular issue. Just a preliminary assessment of values. Compassion, cool. I think so, yeah. You could also extend that, say like empathy, or maybe that's like a synonym, but otherwise, yeah, I think those are definitely some. What else? Kindness, yeah. Yeah, what else might we say this could be a value? Something that might be a little different from these. And if you can't think of any, you can't, that's okay, but let's give it another second. What other values might there be? Or is that all we got? I think that's all we got. And that's okay. These are preliminary values. Just some, we're just spitballing and thinking about, ooh, selflessness. Okay. That could be a good one. So yeah, these are just like preliminary values, things that we might think about just as we're thinking about the issue and, how they might be related to that a little bit. So the first thing that we should do, I think, with any of our like groups, I would say, is do a little bit of primary research. So let's say we should look at the group themselves. So to that end, let's head to Google, I guess. Scamp Custom, it's on here. They have a Wikipedia page even, so maybe that's a good place to start. Who knows? It kind of gives a summary of who they are and what they do-ish. It looks like it was written by somebody at the actual organization a little bit, or at least it reads like that, just scanning over it briefly. Likewise here. They're not really citing anything, outside of the organization. It's kind of just like a reference here to their homepage. So yeah, I think I kind of agree with all of this stuff. It's kind of written like an advertisement. It doesn't reflect the tone feels like it was written by somebody that works there, for that matter. And it needs additional citations. So in any case, you wouldn't want to like cite Wikipedia anyway, but there wasn't a lot of information there. So, I mean, obviously the first thing that you should look for is whatever homepage for the organization is. So we have it right here. The first set of words we see, the first like bold set, under this arresting image in the center of the frame, is a child's friend through and beyond a parent's cancer. So that's something that we might want to include here. We might talk about what the tagline is for their org, let's say. It's right here. Okay. Let's do it like that. And this is a research document, so I'm not going to be formatting things, super consistently. I just want it to be legible for myself. I'm the only one that's going to be looking at this. This is like before I do an outline or my rough draft. This is just where I'm taking down notes as well as snippets of information. You might think about like cutting out newspaper articles. In fact, it has the same sort of effect here. So I have like, if I find quotes or things that look interesting, I might take that down, but I'll also include where I found that and like exactly what page, because you're going to need to put that in sort of citation later on. And that's part of a caption on a picture. So it wasn't even a caption, it was just kind of part of a picture, or like infographic type thing. So yeah, let's go back. They're celebrating 20 years, cool. That's not really important to me, but maybe it's something that you can talk about in your intro, if you happen to be writing about that. What we do, absolutely, give me that. As you can see, didn't even spend much time reading it. It doesn't matter, because I know that that's information that I'm going to need, either like, if whatever I do to it, I might chop it down, I might like paraphrase it, but I'm going to need the stuff that's in here probably. So I can also put that right there, whatever. That's where I found it. That's what it is. Again, we're just moving through at a brisk pace. Infographics. 99% of parents feel their child benefited from attending Camp Kesem. Also, part of infographic. So some logos there that they have. Also, same page, front page. And obviously there's more stuff too, but like in going back and looking at where this comes from, I'll look more over this stuff. Let's browse them a little bit more. So about us, that's a good place to find, for instance, like a mission statement, where you can really get a sense of who the organization thinks they are, as a sort of brand or large overarching thing, as opposed to, talking to individual people. This stuff goes through different hands, different editors, to sort of crystallize exactly the image that they're trying to convey. So I can put that on here. About us, again, there's more information. Maybe it's information that can also be found in here, but maybe not. Again, formatting doesn't matter, because this is mine, and it's just me sort of taking down stuff so that I can copy and paste it later on. Who we are, talking about the need, sure. Also, same. It's a small excerpt from that larger page. More numbers about the impact that they have on children. Let's go here. They have a page, in fact, called Our Values. Come on, it doesn't get better than this. This is something that you can eminently talk about. R values, as well as this stuff right here. I think diversity, equity, and inclusion statement of beliefs and principles. I mean, that's also indicative of values to a certain extent. And so all of this was found on this page. Bam. That's pretty good. Yeah, we're optimistic. We leave a lasting and positive impact, empowering others, caring deeply. We are grateful also. Interesting. Let's see. So they have a lot of corporate sponsors. Maybe that's worth mentioning. I think they also do like fundraising events and things like that for the local chapters. But they also have these as well. Things like the Ronald McDonald House Charities and Pfizer and Boeing. The NFL Players Association. Giordano's Pizza. I love Giordano's actually. They're great. Good deep dish pizza. But yeah, that's, I mean, that information on this page might be valuable in some way, in, you know, talking briefly about, you know, their background. Here's what a day at camp is like. Ooh. So, for example, I want this information. And the reason for that is because instead of asking someone, if I were to interview them, let me write this real quick. Instead of asking someone, you know, what is a day at camp usually like? You could ask that. That's sort of like on the line between an open and closed question, because you're looking for something very specific when you ask that question. You want them, they don't have many alternative ways to answer beyond just giving you the information that you are looking for. Open questions aren't really looking for a particular thing. Closed questions are. And so this is, if you were to ask that of somebody, that would be asking a kind of closed question. Now, when they answer you, they can talk about, you know, what their kind of day at camp looks like. You can then maybe ask follow-up questions about that. But you can also utilize, you know, online resources to answer some of those questions too. And so they talk all about that kind of thing, what a regular day looks like here. And this is like super relevant because this is what the action looks like. This is the activities, or these are the activities that they take in order to that they undertake in order to affect their issue, let's say, in order to convey their value, embody their value. So yeah, that's a really good thing right there. Now, obviously, there's a lot of other things that we could look at on this website, and like in doing our projects, you should be clicking on every single link and seeing what can be, or what's available for you to look at. But we should move on because we've only got so much time. And I found, in my opinion, I feel like I've found enough to go off of in terms of doing this paper, in terms of a lot of, you know, primary evidence just taken from their main website. I don't think we'll find much more. So we should move on to developing a list of contacts, I think, because that can be helpful here. So let's do that, in fact. So they have a contact form, or you can basically like email them and they'll email you back. And then there's also this FAQ page, which also has a lot of information. So I'll just like take that up here too, before I forget. Frequently asked questions. They have a media kit, a brochure. So you want to look at stuff like that. You might also get in touch with this person, Carrie Clemens, the engagement coordinator. So like, if you were to, for instance, get in touch with this person, they probably aren't in charge of like, you know, general questions about the organization. They're kind of like a like social media engagement type person, somebody to handle PR, I guess. That's kind of why they're listed here on the media kit thing. So if you were, for instance, doing a profile of them, media highlights, actually, that might be effective. Ooh, this is good, actually. We'll keep that for later. If you were to, for instance, like want to do an interview with them as a journalist, you'd probably get in touch with Carrie Clemens. But we can do better, in fact, because we know exactly what we are looking for, and that is the Camp Kesem, Oklahoma chapter. So if you ever have, if you're looking at a national organization of any kind, you should also be looking for the specific chapter of that organization that you can cover for your own project. And the Camp Kesem of Oklahoma has exactly that. They have a presence themselves. Just one second, my computer's kind of running out of juice. And we can see it there in the links, in fact, right here. Let me move that out of the way. So they have a specific page on their main website devoted to the University of Oklahoma and what they do. I mean, it's obviously not a huge one, but we've got this right here. This is how the national supports the chapter. We're just kind of scrubbing through quick and dirty, so I can get in touch with her, Diana Arimes. Close that, open that, contact them. They have their own email address for the chapter. This is why cutting and pasting is kind of iffy. Formatting is awful, but that's okay. Again, this is you doing your own thing. So immediately we found like three good ways to get, three good ways to get in touch with them. Like right off the bat, I could email the organization itself. Any email that the chapter gets goes probably to here. The senior program director for the Great Plains, Diana Arimes, that is also a contact. Carrie Clemens, probably not, but it's there in case I kind of need it. But I don't think I'll be desperate enough to contact like the national sort of PR person for them. I think that these will be enough, let's say. So that's good information. But let's find out what more we can get out of the Oklahoma chapter, because that's only so much. So we see immediately that they have a Facebook and Instagram page. Perfect, absolutely perfect. So we can actually, I'll just take these down. Facebook, Instagram. And obviously on these, there's probably a lot of overlapping information because you know how people do social media and they post the same thing on all of them at the same time. They repost things. Let's go back here. Do they have a YouTube page? I think they do from last I checked. They do, in fact. Okay. Okay, apparently I watched this in the past at some point, but yeah, it was so long ago. Let's go back here. That's not right. So I want to take down their YouTube URL as well. So that's there, but also specifically, I think I do want to look up the parent testimonials. And let's see. They actually post pretty frequently, actually. So they talk about all of the, I guess, all of the volunteers at this chapter, like who they are, little bios, I guess, to introduce us to them. That's cool. It says there's a Fall Friends and Family Day on November 7th, 2020, from 4:30 to 6:30. Come join them for fun, virtual programming, and catch up with your Kesem pals. This might be something that you like join and sort of like butt into, but it feels like a little bit maybe an extension of maybe something that they did before to catch up with your Kesem pals. It doesn't really feel like a sort of general like newcomers type meeting per se. You could always ask if you could join if you were in touch with them, but maybe not this sort of event. But it's still something that's a possibility. So you shouldn't foreclose on anything necessarily. So there's more intros for people that are just joining up. They had applications for coordinator positions at OU. Okay, those were probably all of the people basically that we were just looking at. Let's see what we have here. There's an album of photos. Okay, so I was wondering about what they did this year. And apparently, so they're normally a summer camp. So instead of doing a summer camp, in person, because that's probably not the most ideal thing to do in this current climate, instead we have them doing it from home and joining up together via Zoom, which is neat, I think. If you want to do that kind of thing. When you have to do Zoom conferences, it's kind of miserable, but when you actually do get in touch with people that you care about and for fun, it can be a fun thing. So maybe that's something that I want to look at. Kesem at Home 2020 album. I don't know, maybe that's worth a line in my essay talking about, what they did this year, for instance. It's good background about them. All right. So in just, how much time was this? A reasonable amount of time. So 30-ish minutes or so, or a little bit less or more. I can't remember. I'm a bit out of it this week. We immediately thought of some values, did a lot of primary research, just going off of their national website, first of all. There's a lot that we could say about all of these things and a bunch of links to their various, corporate sponsors or what a day at camp is like. Obviously, there were a lot of quotes there that I could have taken, but for time's sake, I just kind of like left the link there, but also like a little description. Likewise with the FAQ, there's a whole brochure that I could take a look at as well. They have the local chapter events happening, entire Facebook and Instagram pages that I could go through the entire histories of and look at. They have a YouTube channel with parent testimonials from this chapter. Here's an example of the kinds of things that they do. To me, that's an astonishing amount of primary evidence. I could write like a 13-page paper with just this stuff and also some secondary resources. But and that's without interviewing anybody. However, you can still interview people. And I recommend that you do, because you'll get a lot more out of them than I think you might even by just going on, websites and looking at things. Still, I think we've shown that you can get a lot of primary research just by going down the rabbit hole a little bit and, very even just briefly, like very shallow searches, you could still find a ton of stuff. So yeah, we found all that stuff. We found like 3 big contacts for the organization, 4 total, 4 potential contacts. But we also need secondary sources or secondary research. So this could be about the group itself or the issue, all right? So let's look up, let's say all right. There's also like this thing that we didn't look at, which is like, I'm gonna hold on to this because this is all secondary. Well, is it secondary sources? I guess it kind of is. Yeah, it is. Like they have them featured on the Today Show for that matter. Yeah. So let's take down this stuff too. Just stuff that I might want to watch later. Again, interviews with people, excellent. Let's see, you can donate, Camp Custom, Oklahoma, Idealist, whatever, I don't know what that is. OU Daily did an article about them. This is perfect. I don't even, like I haven't read it, just scanning through, it looks like they did a bunch of interviews with people about it. This looks like it's gonna be something that's useful to me. I'm just gonna take that down. Well, I said there's no formatting, but that's still really annoying that it's that big. So that's from the OU Daily. There we go. Camp Custom on the Day Show. So that's like 2 articles, 2 like outside sources about it. And obviously I can do more, but that's sufficient for, a very like shallow dip in the pool, I guess, at this point. What we also need, ideally, are secondary sources about our issue itself. So let us put on our academic thinking caps for a moment. Go to the OU Libraries database, because I think that is the ideal way for a lot of us to find out, more about our particular issues. So how would we phrase the issue here? As I take a glass of water. A drink of water. Let's see. I've got it. Effects of parental cancer on children. That's a pretty robust, long, specific search query there. It will bring up undoubtedly a lot of stuff that if it doesn't bring up anything, it's going to be because nothing's there, not because I haven't, you know, put enough details in here, especially the parental. Because if you just put in like effects of cancer on parents and children, it would be like you would bring up a lot of search results about, you know, the way children having cancer affects them, and so you want to be specific with your adjectives there. All right. So the books, there's probably not like a whole book about the subject, and maybe there is. You could check it out potentially, but I wouldn't suggest reading a whole book about your issue. I would suggest, however, looking at articles. So here are 5 articles. The effect of parental cancer on children. That is like literally exactly what we're looking for, in fact. Children facing parental cancer versus parental death, the buffering effects of positive parenting and emotional expression. That feels good. Parental considerations regarding cure and late effects for children with cancer. See, that's not, like I was saying, that's gonna it brings up other stuff too. Post-traumatic growth and adverse long-term effects of parental cancer in children. Perfect. It is that bad, but it isn't that bad. Exploring children's experiences of their mother's non-terminal cancer with a focus on attachment, resilience, and trauma. This is actually the most perfect, I think, because it talks about not just a lot of logos, but it also a lot of pathos and ethos here. It's getting children's experiences in sort of their words, which might be useful there. So that's certainly an article, and I can click through and look at it. If you go and if you like log into the university libraries.ou.edu, if you're just logged into your account, you'll be able to open up any of these PDFs, which, by the way, you should take advantage of, and you probably will as you have to do more research in university, because to open these up without an account related to the university, they're like $45 or $50 a pop. So definitely utilize your access to your advantage here. Well, let's see. Recent years have shown a welcome trend in the number of people surviving cancer. The impact of cancer survival is patient expected. Limited research has explored the effect of parental cancer on children. None is found. No research today can be found which explores children's experiences from a narrative perspective. Yet the way which people tell about their story is associated with emotional well-being, measures attachment, blah blah blah. Narrative interview where they spontaneously describe their experiences. Yeah, so like this stuff might be super useful. So let me just copy and paste that abstract. And you should be looking at the abstracts for these. You don't need to read the whole article yet, but in this stage where you're just like gathering stuff together, where you're just like freewheeling it and figuring out, you know, what the lay of the land is, copying and pasting stuff left and right, and then reviewing all of your research that you've done, that's what you should be doing. And so taking down that information is good. Post-traumatic growth and adverse long-term effects of parental cancer in children, also a good article, probably. Full text available, let's see. While that loads, I can also look at this one. Let me copy down the abstract. Not really looking at it yet. I'll look at it later on. And that was this one. This study has a bit more logos in it. I can see they're reporting anxiety levels and stuff like that. and then scoring it. This one also seems absolutely perfect. Bam. It looks like there's some typos there, but that happens. So, okay, where are we at? All right, we're almost out of time, but I have done some preliminary thinking about the values, first of all, done some primary research on their website, on their national website, as well as the chapters at OU, or at OU, the chapter at OU, found information from them, found their YouTube page, things that I might use from their Facebook and Instagram. I found 4 different points of contact for them that I could potentially try. If I were to try anything, I would say I would do this one for Oklahoma first. I found 2 outside sources, secondary sources about my group itself, and I found 4 articles about the issue itself. Now, that is a tremendous amount of research that I've done, and I've done it in basically like 45 minutes or so. And if I did not have an interview, I would probably still be able to write a paper about this. I would absolutely be able to. And I could say that, you know, having written, you know, papers kind of like this before, but I would say that for you, if you don't feel like you can get an interview, try and find a group that has a really robust web presence in the same way that this one does, because you're gonna end up needing a lot of that in order to get that primary evidence where you can like start saying things about what their values might be. And if they don't have that kind of stuff, you're gonna be like left a little short. Conversely, if you have a group that you really know you want to do and they don't have a really big web presence, then get in there and find their contact information as soon as possible. Like, get in touch with them, find out how you can even volunteer to do, to do something with them, and you'll be able to like get a lot out of this, I think. Conversely, you can do both of these things. So I think like my next step, in fact, like having done this, all of this right now, I would then go home. I would take a break because like this is a lot of work, first of all. I would take a break and then I would write some emails, you know, to this address. I would also maybe contact them with, you know, any questions that I might have generally about the organization. And I would also get in touch with Deanna in order to figure out maybe what I could do for the organization, maybe, or like any other questions that I might have. Following on from that, I would actually, you know, like go through all of these things a bit more. But the first step in doing any research is just finding those sources, finding those things that you know you will need before like even getting into them. And I think that's the hardest part. And so hopefully I've shown, like, just kind of by eyeballing things and by like just basically scanning through stuff, it's really easy to tell. And you'll get more experience with it as you go, as you do more research, like as an academic, you know, even at the undergraduate level, which like you are academics to a certain extent. This is work. You'll get quicker at that as you go. But even like just in less than an hour's time, I found so much stuff. So I hope that this has been useful to you. Do you feel like you're able to do this kind of thing for this assignment? And I'm kind of over time here, but yeah. Okay, I hope that this was helpful. Before we go, one more thing. I want to show you the assignment that I put up. So let me go to our modules. So the organization analysis. If you do that kind of activity that I just did, you will find the answers to this pretty easily. So like, what's the group? What's the issue they're involved with? What are some of the context for that group? Do they have a website? How frequently is it updated? Are there any events upcoming? What actions do they take? Are there testimonials or stories from those helped by their actions? Do they state their explicit values? And then also, following on from that, what do you think their values are, like beyond those explicit ones? Like what do you think, reading between the lines? So that's your assignment. That's due tomorrow night. As I said, it's pretty easy if you're already kind of doing work on it, or even if like you start tonight or tomorrow. Like I just showed you, you can do this stuff really, really fast. It's not even asking about secondary sources or anything yet. But basically, like I just demonstrated, like that's all the research that I need to do potentially for my paper. It's all right there. And it's just like a case of reading through it at this point. So I hope that that's helpful to you. If you have any questions, I'll be here to answer them. But otherwise, I hope you have a good weekend.
Thank you.
Oh, Dennis, if you're talking, I muted things. Okay. Any questions? Did you have a question, Christopher? All right, I'll take that as a no.